It is, Sandra. House Democrats rejecting a Republican push to sanction financial backers of the terror group Hamas. This as progressives ramp up criticism of President Biden for supporting Israel. Let's bring in Tennessee Republican Senator Bill Hagerty. Senator, it's good to see you this afternoon. So Congressman Brian Mast introduced a resolution to sanction supporters, financial supporters of Hamas, but Democrats in the House torpedoed it. And I'm left wondering why it would even be a question whether or not you would look to sanction financial backers of Hamas.
This absolutely shouldn't be a partisan issue, John, but I think it just shows how radicalized the Democrat Party has been. This same sort of legislation passed the party 100% unanimous 2 years ago. But now you had a party line vote by the Democrats against punishing Hamas, punishing those who are aggressively trying to kill innocent Israeli citizens right now. This should not be a partisan issue. Yet they're making everything a partisan issue, particularly with respect to our allies in the Middle East. It's regretful.
So it's leaving me to wonder, are Democrats conflating wanting to support the Palestinian people with backing Hamas?
Well, it's certainly a very bad conflation if that. I think the Democrats are missing it at every point. They're just tone deaf when it comes to their foreign policy. What we've seen is an appeasement of Iran, the Biden administration completely wasting the past 4 months when they really had an opportunity to follow up on the momentum created by the previous administration with the Abraham Accords and really work hard to spread more peace in the Middle East. Instead, they turned to Iran, tried to appease Iran, really create the environment for Hamas to be emboldened. That's what has caused this. All of those rockets coming from Hamas, from Gaza into Israel, are Iranian rockets. That's what's causing this right now, and the Biden administration is pushing all the wrong levers. Now they think...
I was just going to say, I'm sorry, we have seen a really interesting progression by President Biden. Yesterday, in a conversation he had with Benjamin Netanyahu, he encouraged a ceasefire. Then he had a tarmac meeting with Rashida Tlaib of Michigan as he was out there in Dearborn yesterday, in which she really seemed to give him an earful. He praised her in the speech he gave at the Ford plant there shortly thereafter. And then this morning had a phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu in which he basically demanded a significant de-escalation on a path to a ceasefire. Who's running the show here?
I find this incredible. The foreign policy principles here are very simple. You stand with your allies and you stand up against your enemies. And what Tlaib is calling for here is absolutely the wrong sort of thing, and I cannot believe the Biden administration is actually kowtowing to this. To reach out to Netanyahu and tell the victim to stand down while they're being assaulted by terrorists, I think is really unrealistic. And if I were Benjamin Netanyahu, I would be looking for a sustainable deterrent right now, and I wouldn't be listening to the advice of President Biden.
I want to ask you, Senator, about something that's going on amongst your colleagues over in the House. Nancy Pelosi is now fined 5 members of the Republican Party $500 apiece for not wearing a mask in the House. Among them was Congressman Mast, who was fully vaccinated. It led Leader Kevin McCarthy to petition the House physician, saying, "We're calling on Speaker Pelosi to stop politicizing the science as a personal vendetta against her political opponents and allow people to not wear masks. Instead, she should adopt the same mask guidance from the CDC, which the White House and the Senate are using as the basis for their protocols." Pelosi spokesman Drew Hamill responding, saying, Minority Leader McCarthy's resolution is a sad stunt to distract from the reality that the House Republicans are descending into pure chaos. I know that senators really like to refrain from what goes on over in the House, but what do you make of this?
I talked with Speaker McCarthy this morning, and he's exactly right. The politicization of everything in the House is what's happening, and Nancy Pelosi is behind it. Again, as you say, try to stay out of that sort of tit-for-tat activity that happens in the House so often. But it really is a shame when the world is looking at America, and what they see is this sort of banter back and forth, again, trying to harm your political enemies using any type of weapon possible. That's what's happening here.
Senator Bill Hagerty of the great state of Tennessee, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, John.
Really appreciate it. Good to see you.
Great to be with you again. Thanks.
Sandra?